Okay, so Isaiah 9. Arameans from the east and Philistines from the west have devoured Israel with open mouth. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. So these other people have devoured the spirit of Israel, okay, and God's hand is still not turned away. But the people have not returned to him who struck them, nor have they sought the Lord Almighty. Notice he struck them, right? Like it says in Isaiah 1, where it says that, you know, why should you be beaten anymore? Why do you persist in rebellion? Your whole head is injured, your whole heart afflicted. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there is no soundness, only wounds and welts and open sores. So they were continuing to be beaten. Okay. But the people have not returned to him who struck them, nor have they sought the Lord Almighty. So the Lord will cut off from Israel both head and tail, both palm branch and reed in a single day. The elders and the dignitaries are the head, the prophets who teach lies are the tail. So notice, it's not literally a palm branch or a reed. It's referring to something else, and this is constantly done in the Bible. Okay? Those who guide this people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray, right? They're led astray by the elders and the dignitaries, the governing class, first and foremost, okay? And they're leading them astray, like old Freemasons, old military guys, old rich guys like Bezos, and old European nobility, and so on and so forth, right? This is the plan for the whole world. It will say, and we'll get into that in the next part. Okay, so therefore the Lord will take no pleasure in the young men, nor will he pity the fatherless and the widows, for everyone is ungodly and witty. Everyone is ungodly and wicked, not witty. My goodness. For everyone is ungodly and wicked, every mouth speaks folly. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. So you see, when I'm chastising the Jews and everyone else, okay, their own Bible says that at the time then and now they're going to be ungodly and wicked. And there's one prophet trying to reason one, where it's Hosea, Amos, da 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 da. Okay, in this case, it's me, and I'm the last ever. And that's what Jesus said in the New Testament. He said, you know, there'll come a day when the last person comes. Parable of the tenants. Okay, last of all, he sent his son. They will respect him, he said. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Yet for all this, surely wickedness burns like a fire. It consumes briars and thorns. It sets the forest thickets ablaze, so that it rolls upwards in a column of smoke. Okay, the smoke of their wickedness rises forever and ever. Okay, and then when they die, they get thrown into the lake of fire. They live wicked, pathetic lives. That's what it's going to say in Isaiah 66. That's what it says in Revelation, right, 19 through 22, so on and so forth. It says these guys, because of their cowardliness, their magic arts, their wickedness, their lies, their thefts, exploitation, rapes, what have you, that they're going to be outside the gates suffering forever. By the wrath of the Lord Almighty, the land will be scorched, and the people will be fuel for the fire. They will not spare one another. On the right, they will devour, but still be hungry. On the left, they will eat, but not be satisfied. Each will feed on the flesh of their own offspring. So they're called to the flesh instead of consuming the bread of God's presence, okay, and the wine of the Spirit of God, the blood shed by the prophets, the righteous acts that comes with becoming one with the Spirit of God, and the blood you shed, the blood that is shed, you know, your blood that is shed when you're screened out for doing God's work, okay. So, you know, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Those who hunger and thirst for the cult of the flesh and mere worldly social norms are consuming the flesh of themselves and their offspring, and so on and so forth. Okay, because they're leading them down that wicked path, and they're done. And their flesh becomes pathetic too, and so on and so forth. Manasseh will feed on Ephraim, and Ephraim on Manasseh. Together they will turn against Judah. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. Part of the reason I'm reading this fast, because I made this already. They interrupted me, pissed me off, and I had to make it again. Okay, Isaiah 10. Making unjust laws and issuing depressive decrees while withholding justice from the oppressed decided. Making unjust laws and issuing oppressive decrees while withholding justice from the oppressed decided. The king of Assyria says, by the strength of my hand I have done this, by my wisdom. Okay, and then Isaiah 11, the branch of Jesse. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse, from his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him. The spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the spirit of counsel and of might, the spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. Okay, so notice it's citing characteristics, right? Counsel, might, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, right? Discipline, sound judgment, sense, insight. Okay, these things that only I display. Everyone else is on some bootlicking, Western kind of uniform wearing nitty type of nonsense, and people who have volunteered or have been assigned to acting like idiots to try to make the idiots in uniforms like politicians, military, police, Freemasons, chefs, priests, right? People with their various uniforms. Hey guys, I'm in a certain Western uniformity of the world, when Zeus is still the main deity of the West, and Zeus is Middle Eastern equivalent is Baal, and his Egyptian equivalent is Set, because we're evil. Now, this is their wordplay, not mine. According to them, the word whites is Y Set scrambled. Why? Because they worship Set, whose equivalent is Baal, which is just what the Bible says. And of course, the Romans, symbolically and otherwise, in the story, crucified Jesus. Okay, and with working with the Jews and the LGBT community, were there a bunch of LGBT people in the ranks of the Romans? You betcha. Okay, I don't know why they downplay that in the Bible. They didn't in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, but in the New Testament, and they're run by a bunch of LGBT people, pagans, so on and so forth. When during the time when it was said to be written, they had the Council of Nicaea and so on and so forth. There was gays as far as the eye can see, lesbians, so on and so forth. But magically, it's hardly in the story. It's basically not in the story at all. Okay, because it was the white Jew and LGBT community that twisted the Bible so they could, just like in the movies, they could pretend that they're a hero. Look at He-Man, he's effeminate. Look at Star Wars, they're effeminate. Okay, look at Superman, tights, effeminate. Look at all the love scenes in movies where they show their butt. LGBT friend. Look at Hollywood, effeminate. LGBT. Look at the news, LGBT people. Look at today, a quarter of Generation Z claims to be LGBT. 25%, up from like 2%. Effeminate. You know what I'm saying? What do you call like a 12% increase? Okay? It's a gay agenda. It's white, Jew, LGBT. Where's it come from? Is it Africa? No. Is it Asia? No. Okay, these guys are affected by it because they're globalists who are centered in the West. Okay, and it's LGBT, and these guys worship the fucking devil. Okay? You have any questions? Put in the comments. Okay, the most important thing in this chapter may very well be how wickedness immediately causes them to burn. Okay, it says, for everyone is ungodly and wicked, every mouth speaks folly. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. Surely wickedness burns like a fire. It consumes briars and thorns. It sets the forest thickets ablaze so that it rolls upwards in a column of smoke. The work of God's hands includes when you're wicked, you automatically suffer. Your offspring automatically suffer. Okay, they need to be redeemed. And once I'm gone, there'll be no valid redeemer. No one is qualified to continue my work. Okay, who do you think? Jocks? Military? Nerds? Thugs? Who do you think? Politicians? The churches? My goodness, see how they bent over for the New World Order without hesitation? There wasn't even the slightest resistance when they turned into obvious New Age, LGBT, white supremacists, feminists, what have you, token minorities. They didn't hesitate to transfer from one bootlicking philosophy to another. Okay? Nobody is anywhere near qualified to continue my work ever again. They're done.